Sky rockets in flight. Afternoon delight.
I felt like that was really unnecessary.
I liked it.
See, JD liked it.
It doesn't make it better.
I enjoyed Joe's singing and, musical sensibilities.
That's what I bring to the table.
Yeah. Welcome to Butcher Block Horror Podcast, where we exhume horror movies from the past and cut into what makes them so delectable. I'm Kaine.
Wait, who am I? Oh, wait, JD.
Joe, Miss Jackson, if you're nasty.
I'm real nasty.
I fucking swear. And today, we're throwing a movie I watched obsessively as a kid, Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, onto the slab, and carving up our favorite potions to force feed to you, our unwitting victims. You missed on that one.
What?
You were too late.
I'm never too late.
JD arrives precisely when he means to.
All right. Enough of that shit.
And I don't care what you call me as long as it's not late for dinner.
Normally, when I'm saying the name of the film is when you make it so difficult to actually say the name of the film, because you come in there and you're screeching and being terrifying, and you really missed it on this one.
Ooh, wait, am I actually terrifying?
I mean, no.
Okay.
If you enjoy the taste of these feasts of fright, then make sure to review us wherever you consume your podcasts. If you do the YouTube, make sure to like the video, subscribe, and click the bell. Are you trying to make up for lost time, JD?
No, I was trying to make the sound of our listeners consuming their podcasts.
Oh, yeah.
Is that you ever so slightly trying to move us towards the wacky morning show that you want us to be?
Yeah, JD would love us
God
to
damn
have
it.
like a sound bar that did like air horns and vuvuzela noises.
Was it Aluga?
Aruga, yeah. Honk, honk. Shit like that.
A wacky morning show. That's extreme.
We have a website, wegiveYouBrainworms.com. That's where you go if you want to join our funky fresh Discord server.
Yeah.
And if you want to support the podcast, you can click on our Patreon link.
Yeah, our patrons get direct access to pictures of JD's feet.
Wait, when did we start offering JD's feet as a reward for Patreon?
Yes.
Just now, when I did it into the microphone.
I guess. I'm uncomfortable.
Have you edited the Patreon to show that?
By the time this episode goes live, I will have, yes.
Oh my God.
JD, did you consent to having your feet pics used?
I haven't consented to much, honestly.
I just figured you'd be into it. You know? I know how proud you are of your feet.
Oh, okay.
Oh
well,
God. All right.
My head hurt, my feet stink, and I don't love Jesus.
Well then, nobody knows what's going on. We're in uncharted territory right now, apparently.
True.
Once we cross over, everything could change.
But yeah, Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. I had a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
JD, why don't you tell us a little bit about the movie? Because it actually had some trouble.
Yeah, there was some stuff happening. So yeah, it was released in June of 1948 with a runtime of 82 minutes, a budget of $792,270, and a box office return of $3.2 million. This little American horror comedy, it came at a time when Universal Pictures was struggling.
Right?
They were struggling in the early 40s. Things were not looking very good, and Universal Pictures came across an entrepreneur named J. Arthur Rank. Rank, he had some big bucks, though, and there was a merger that occurred. Then Universal turned into Universal International. Prior to that mashup, though, Universal was dropping actors and contracts because they tended to keep their actors and everyone under contract, including Lon Chaney Jr. So with only a small handful of actors under contract, their backs were against the wall, and fortunately, the comedy duo of Bud Abbott and Lou Costello, they were still under contract, but even their popularity as comedians was waning slightly. Everybody needed a rejuvenation, basically. And, interestingly enough, Bud Abbott and Lou Costello, they had a very rocky relationship. They did a lot of fighting and bickering, and to make matters worse, Bud Abbott was actually afflicted with a severe type of epilepsy, and Costello nearly died in 1943 from rheumatic heart disease. So these guys had a lot going on.
Drinking and smoking can really fuck up everything.
Yeah, it could put a damper on things, no doubt. But this film, It went on to be the most successful film in the Frankenstein series since the original release of Frankenstein in 1931. Universal International paid a lot in advertising money. They paid Boris Karloff, actually, and they paid him to stand outside the Lowe's Criterion Theater in New York to sort of promote the movie. And Karloff agreed and was later quoted saying, "I'll do whatever as long as I don't have to see the movie." Yeah. But he wasn't actually even in the movie.
Nope.
But yeah, he was paid to promote it, apparently.
That's fun.
Yeah. Kaine, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
Just that Lon Chaney didn't really like this movie. And he was actually annoyed that the Universal monsters were essentially turned into gags.
Yeah.
So he was not down with it at all.
Really, Lugosi, Chaney Jr., and Karloff built their whole careers around, all their notoriety came from the Universal monsters they played, so I could see it being sort of a sore point for them.
Mm-hmm.
But Universal International had to do what it had to do, right? So
Capitalism keeps chugging along.
it really does, yep. The bills don't stop coming, that's for sure.
Right?
Years start coming and they don't stop coming. You
Don't do it. I suspected that this was going to happen, and Joe, I'd like you to stop it.
Or you get the pain stick.
Or the Christmas goblin's going to visit you.
head for the door and you hit the ground running. That it makes sense not to live for fun. Your brain gets smart, but your head gets dumb.
Why do you know the lyrics to that terrible song?
I have one of those weird brains where song lyrics just stick in there.
Ah, I gotcha.
I'm forever making just horrible songs get stuck in my friends' heads.
Well, you're doing a fantastic job.
I mean, now anybody that listens to this episode is going to get that song somewhat stuck into their head. So you're kind of evil.
Well, we
Yeah.
apologize, and hopefully we could, by the end of this, sing some other song that gets stuck in their head that erases the remnants of that, whatever band that is.
Sure.
Anyway, Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein was directed by Charles Barton. Barton, born May 25th of 1902, became very dead December 5th of 1981.
Charles Barkley.
No, Barton. Barton was an actor in film and vaudeville and a director, best known for directing a bunch of the Abbott and Costello movies. The film was produced by Robert Arthur, and Arthur was born November 1st, 1909, kicked the bucket October 28th of 1986, an American screenwriter and big-time producer for Universal Studios, mostly known for his long-standing association with Universal, from what I gathered. So should I get on with the plot of...
Yeah, man. Fire it up.
Yep, get along.
All right, on to the plot.
I think this might be the longest of the movies we've watched so far, at 82 minutes.
So far, yeah.
Yeah, the black and white season has been kind on our timetables. Anyway, so yeah, we meet Mr. Larry Lawrence Talbot. He's making an urgent phone call.
It's played by Lon Chaney Jr.
Yep. And so then we meet Chick Young and Wilbur Gray. And they're a pair of baggage clerks over at the railway station somewhere in Florida.
Chick Young's played by Bud Abbott, and Wilbur Gray was played by Lou Costello.
Yeah.
Yep. So Talbot, he's calling again, and now he gets on the horn with Wilbur. Wilbur. Anyway, he's warning of the shipment to arrive for McDougal's House of Horrors, which is essentially like a wax museum. Before Talbot can even finish...
It's also good to say that he was in London.
Oh, excellent. So he was the werewolf in London?
He was a werewolf in London,
Yep.
yeah. Awoo.
But no, he was calling from London, so the time was going to be different.
Ah, yes. That's a good point. So anyway, yes, the light of the rising full moon is consuming him a bit, causing him to wolf out.
A lot of full moons in this movie.
Oh, yeah. And so anyway, he starts making a lot of wacky, unbelievable sounds over the phone, so Wilbur assumes it's some type of prank and dismisses Talbot's claims. Meanwhile, McDougal demands that the crates be personally delivered directly to his wax museum.
So we're going to ignore the entrance of Sandra Mornay.
Well, if I don't ignore it, then what do you get to say?
It's a good point. Yeah, so before all of that happens, we meet Sandra Mornay, who is played by Lenore Aubert.
And the luggage incident, one of my favorite parts.
It's a great part of the movie where we discover that Wilbur is the love interest of the beautiful Sandra Mornay, much to Chick's chagrin. He doesn't understand it, but there's a real fun thing where Wilbur goes to grab her bag, and when he does it, pulls the whole baggage cart down. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, it was a good scene.
Some good slapstick.
Yeah, they were very stoogey, almost a little too stoogey for me. Like, I felt like, how do you bite the Three Stooges that hard?
Right.
But, oh well, you know. Abbott and Costello are not really my cup of tea. I'm more of a Three Stooges guy, but I still enjoyed the hell out of this movie. Back to Chick and Wilbur.
They get into an argument with McDougal.
So anyway, yeah, Chick and Wilbur, they deliver the crates after hours, and they're instructed to unpack the crates.
Now, the reason that they were instructed to unpack the crates is because McDougal was bringing his insurance guy to make sure none of the stuff was broken, because at one point when they were supposed to be unloading the crates, they were fooling around, and Wilbur was like standing on top of a crate, and it was like weaving back and forth, and then it falls down. That's where that came from.
Yeah. But they just did so much fooling around throughout the whole movie that it's hard to... Yeah.
They were very unprofessional baggage handlers.
Yeah,
they were.
Probably the worst in the history of all of baggage handlers. So anyway, they're unpacking Dracula's coffin, and so...
Unpacking Dracula's coffin sounds like a bathroom euphemism.
Like if you're taking a shit in Transylvania? Like, why is that a bathroom euphemism?
Just sounds like, oh shit, guys, I gotta go unpack Dracula's coffin. I'll be back in 10, you know?
I like that. I'm gonna use that. Next time I gotta pinch a loaf, I'm gonna be like, hey, it's time to go unpack Dracula's coffin.
Yeah, see, it works.
Works for me, so thank you, Joe.
Hashtag unpack Dracula's coffin. There you go.
We gotta spread it around. We gotta smear it around the world.
Is that like Kyle Kaine? I'm more tired than a big dick bat.
Yeah.
So yeah, Chick walks off the scene to grab the second crate, and now Wilbur is now alone, stuck with this casket, and he's reading this little sign that's, part of the museum. It's a little sign inscribed with the legend of Count Dracula. And suddenly, the coffin begins to slowly open.
It only opens when he's reading it out loud, though.
Yeah, he's a little distracted and very, very scared. And him and Chick do this whole little song and dance with, oh, just call me if you need me. And then, he turns around in 2 seconds. And It was a lot of slapsticky humor. So anyway, Wilbur's frightened beyond words. I assume that he shit himself. I know we've talked about that a few times.
Yeah, this is a very, very fecal podcast.
Yeah. We get to that a lot.
Very scatological in our humor.
Yeah. Our timelines are scatological.
Oh, God damn it. Just stop it. Just stop.
Just keep talking about the plot, right? Okay.
I'm the scat man.
So Wilbur and Chick are opening the crate for Frankenstein.
We get to the point where Dracula sneaks out.
Yep. And let's talk about the fact that Dracula and the Wolfman, they have not aged gracefully.
And they're bitter adversaries in this film.
But no, I mean, Lon Chaney and Bela Lugosi's drug and drinking habits, by the time this film came out, was apparent that they had lived their best lives. I'm just saying that Dracula looked a little arthritic.
Bela Lugosi was actually buried in his Dracula costume. Isn't that interesting?
I have heard that. That's really cool.
Yeah. He was very protective of the Dracula role.
I once read that he had a heart attack and he was clutching an Ed Wood script next to his chest, but I also read that was false. That never happened. So
I want to know what Bela would have thought of Gary Oldman doing Dracula.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Hopefully he would have approved, but we'll never know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Unless we get a Ouija board. We can go to Hollywood, break out the Ouija board, see if we can convince Bela Lugosi's spirit to talk to us, and maybe even watch Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Count me in.
That's very stupid.
So yeah, now I'm going to go ahead and jump back into this plot here before we spin out of control. So Chick returns with the second crate, and he refuses to believe a word Wilbur is stammering to say. So now our fellas attempt to open the second crate, but McDougal shows up, and Chick runs off to greet him. Now Wilbur's alone again, but not for long, as Dracula hypnotizes him.
And there's this cute little, like, ooh,
Yeah. The theremin music was very charming. I loved it.
Really
Which was basically like a Halloween store ghost.
Yeah. Those ghosts from the early 90s that you would hang in the and light up.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're never going to be in a spirit of Halloween without hearing one.
Yeah. It was the same sound.
Yeah. Wilbur then discovers Frankenstein's monster inside the second crate. He sort of helps to reanimate him. Dracula has got these little...
He's got a
kind
ring.
of like a jump starter. Yeah, it kind of gives him some...
It's like his ring. He just holds the ring and some sparks come off of it and wakes Frankenstein up.
Don't question it.
Yeah, and he kind of puts it next to his electrodes that are protrude from his neck and then over his eyes. And
gives him a little electro stim.
At this point, Wilbur actually broke Dracula's trance and has been pretending to be entranced so that he doesn't get eaten by Dracula.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good fight or flight response.
Sure.
So anyway, yeah, McDougal sees his prized crates. They're completely empty and believes Chick and Wilbur to be thieves and has them taken into custody by the police.
Well, Chick explains that the reason they actually got put in jail is because when they were exclaiming their innocence, Wilbur proceeded to tell them that the bodies got up and walked away on their own.
Which is, yeah, definitely hard to believe, but we are talking about Dracula and Frankenstein. So anyway, later that night, we meet Dr. Sandra Mornay.
We already met her, but she was played by Lenore Albert.
Oh, damn. That's right. She was giving Wilbur a smooch on the noggin.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so anyway, she befriends Dracula and the monster, and she welcomes them to her creepy island castle.
Well, that's not accurate, right? So the reason that Sandra is even interested in Wilbur is that she's been in contact with Dracula the whole time.
Well, yeah, she's kind of playing him.
She orchestrated all of this. Dracula coming to L.A. or wherever the hell they are, and the Frankenstein's monster being delivered there, that was all orchestrated by her.
Right.
So the monster is a little sketchy, even for Dracula and Mornay, and so they devise this plan to find the monster a more obedient brain. And Sandra, this whole thing is about seducing Wilbur to help Dracula get the desired brain for the monster.
If I only had a brain.
There's even a funny part when the monster is being led away by Dracula. He looks at Wilbur and immediately jump scares.
Oh yeah, that was great. So yeah, Wilbur and Chick, they were bailed out by Joan Raymond.
Joan is working with the insurance company, and she is also going to convince Wilbur that she loves him so that he'll lead her to the stolen artifacts.
Yep, and who played Joan?
I'm getting there. Joan Raymond was played by Jane Randolph.
Yep, and she was an undercover insurance investigator, and she also pretends to have a thing for Wilbur.
I just said that.
Well, I'm saying it again.
I'm going to be honest, I completely stopped listening. I was just waiting for my turn to talk, so.
Aw, sorry, Joe. Let you go ahead and have a turn.
I have the writers and stuff to talk about, but that's not until later.
Gotcha. So yeah, Wilbur invites Joan to the Masquerade Ball later that evening, and then Larry Talbot takes the apartment across the hall from Chick and Wilbur. He seeks their assistance to help destroy Dracula and the monster.
But Chick still doesn't buy it.
Yeah, he's not buying it.
Yeah. Dracula and the Monster. Good band name?
Maybe.
Maybe.
It's not as good as the band name Gut Crusher from the AI bot on Twitter that's bands that don't exist.
Right.
Yeah, it's Gut Crusher, and their album is called All Fascists Must Die.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
It is a better band name than Hootie and the Blowfish, though.
It is.
Yeah, it doesn't take much to make a better band name than that.
That's a low bar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Wilbur is more in support of Talbert's request, but Chick remains a skeptic. So Wilbur, Chick, and Joan head to Sandra's castle in order to pick her up for the ball. Wilbur fields a phone call from Talbot, who informs him that they are, in fact, inside the house of Dracula. Wilbur is especially scared and reluctant to search the castle.
But Chick forces him to prove once and for all that the monsters aren't real.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, basically. So they find the basement staircase. Wilbur has some close encounters with some monsters and whatnot. Meanwhile, Joan discovers Dr. Frankenstein's journal in Sandra's desk. Sandra snoops back by rummaging through Joan's purse as she finds her insurance investigator ID.
Caught.
Yeah, busted.
Mm-hmm.
So now, under the alias of Dr. Leos, Dracula introduces himself to Joan, Wilbur, and Chick, and we also meet Professor Stevens.
And Professor Stevens was played by Charles Bradstreet.
Excellent.
And he was what the kids call the Chad of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's the stereotypical Chad. So he's deeply questioning some of the specialized equipment that has arrived to the castle. Wilbur starts talking about his experience in the basement. Sandra fakes a headache and tells everyone in their group to head over to the Masquerade Ball without her.
Yeah.
So in private, Sandra confesses to Dracula that she believes they are under too much scrutiny and fire to succeed with the brain experiment, but Dracula ain't hearing that shit, and so he turns her into a vampire.
Kaine and I came to the conclusion that the laboratory doubled as a sex dungeon.
I wouldn't disagree with that.
Well, I mean, you came to that conclusion, and I said, why couldn't it be both?
Well, that's what I said, that the lab doubled as a sex dungeon.
If you think about Dr. Pretorius from Beyond, I mean, that's kind of, I would say, also his setup. It's common in horror films, you know?
Yeah.
Lab, sex dungeon, it all overlaps.
It's true.
So yeah, now we're at the ball, and Talbot causes a scene by accusing Leos of being Count Dracula. However, no one takes him very seriously.
Even though he looks exactly like Count Dracula.
Exactly like Count Dracula.
Which was very clever of them to do that at a masquerade ball.
Yeah, I mean, you figure you need a costume. Why not Dracula? So then Joan disappears, and we are unsure of her whereabouts for a bit. Sandra seduces Wilbur and lures him into the forest to give him a giant sloppy wet bite on the neck, but she fails. Somewhere in there, in search for Joan, Talbot wolfs out hard and whoops McDougal's ass for a second.
He's chasing Wilbur, and Wilbur thinks that it's Chick with a wolf mask on.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some slapsticky stuff that happens.
Oh, yeah. Silly Chick wore a wolf costume, and so naturally McDougal accuses him, but he takes off right in the nick of time to witness Dracula hypnotizing Wilbur. And in this process, Chick is also hypnotized.
Do you think he believed at that point?
You would think so. So now that the duo is rendered helpless, Dracula and vampire Sandra, they hijack Wilbur, Stevens, and Joan back to the castle. The next morning, Chick and Talbot rendezvous in the swamp or the bayou or whatever it was, and devise a plan to rescue Wilbur and Joan. Wilbur is easily freed, but Dracula is powerful and uses mind control tactics to draw him back.
That tracks.
Sandra is just about to start cutting into Wilbur's brain case. Talbot and Chick burst into the scene. Chick gets all backyard wrestling mad and knocks Sandra's ass out with a chair.
Which was funny. Like, that was a really funny scene to me. The fact that he's like holding Dracula at bay with the chair and then raises it up like he's going to bash Dracula, but instead bashes Sandra.
Yeah, you laughed really hard at that part.
Yeah.
There were a few good laughable moments. We'll get to the one that got me later. Anyway, Talbot attempts to free up Wilbur, but wolf's out again. Horrible timing as always. I imagine like poor Larry Talbot in the dentist chair or having like a colonoscopy and just anyway.
Why do you imagine that?
I imagine him wolfing out during those things.
That would be awkward, wouldn't it?
His horrid track record of wolfing out.
Be embarrassing.
Very embarrassing, yeah.
Especially when he ate people.
Yeah. It's real goof.
Oh, is that an ear? Anyway, Frankenstein's monster bursts free of the ties that bound him, and now he's filled with rage. Sandra does her best to wrangle his wild ass. He gives her a one-way ticket out a window on a date with gravity. That was pretty fun.
So I do wonder, why did she save Wilbur? Was it because she still planned on incapacitating the monster and implanting his brain? Or was there a secret like appreciation for Wilbur that she was avoiding dealing with?
Maybe he grew on her.
I think she just wanted his brain.
Okay.
There's that too, yeah. So now shit gets real exciting. We have an incredible chase through the house. There's kind of like a two-way face-off that occurs between Wilbur and the monster, and then Dracula versus the Wolfman. Vampires and werewolves infamously don't seem to get along.
It's true.
Sure.
I base a lot of that on What We Do in the Shadows, however.
Although that canon is contradicted by the Monster Mash.
That's true, yeah.
It's true. But I mean, the Monster Mash changed up a lot of the relationships between monsters.
Sure.
It was them putting aside their differences for a moment.
In order to mash.
As far as werewolves and vampires hating each other, a lot of that was stolen from White Wolf, The World of Darkness.
I mean, apparently it was stolen from Abbott and Costello. This may be the first instance of Dracula fighting a werewolf.
That might be it, yeah.
So Dracula turns himself into a bat, but gets pounced on by the Wolfman, who drags the two of them to their impending doom. That was a hell of a scene, because you got to see Larry Talbot in his full wolf costume just flailing into the whatever body of water that was, and the splashback was like an animation of some kind. I thought it was really funny.
It was pretty funny. It was unintentionally funny, too. So
Right. So now we have Chick, Stevens, Wilbur, and Joan. Stevens, he's a twisted fire starter. I'll just leave it at that. He goes to set the dock ablaze as Wilbur and Chick are trying to get away in this boat.
I mean, that's basically the end of the movie.
Basically.
Chick and Wilbur are in the boat. They finally get it untied, and they're, like, moving away from the dock, and Frankenstein's, like, throwing barrels and boxes and shit at him.
Like Donkey Kong, right?
It was very like Donkey Kong. It was very ineffective. And then Professor Stevens was just dumping gasoline all over the place. Like, he definitely would have accidentally set himself ablaze.
Yeah, I was just about to ask, how the hell did he not light himself on fire?
Right, and it wasn't even safely stored.
No. Barrels of gas on the side of the house.
That's not what you do.
That whole castle was a fire hazard.
The castle was made out of rock, so the castle itself was probably safe from fire.
Sure, but the interior definitely was just ready to go up at a moment's notice.
Yeah.
So now Wilbur and Chick, they think they're getting away and everything's good in their boat, and Wilbur goes on to sort of berate Chick for being a skeptic early on in the film. And Chick is now confident that the group has nothing to fear.
A cigarette gets lit.
Exactly. But we get a little cameo from Vincent Price, right?
Yep. He does the voice of the Invisible Man, where he laments not being involved with the excitement.
Oh, quick interruption. Apparently House of Dracula from 1945 is the first instance of a Dracula fighting a werewolf.
Awesome.
Okay.
So yeah, the voice of Vincent Price as the Invisible Man sort of reignites all their fears, and they take off in the boat in absolute terror, and that's the end of the film.
Yep. That was it. The score was amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely loved it.
Yeah,
It was
the score was
Frank Skinner, no stranger to doing
Awesome shit.
awesome scores like that. Joe, you want to tell us about the cinematographer and the writers?
Yeah, I can do that. Cinematographer Charles VanEnger, who was born in 1890 and died in 1980, which I thought was interesting. Just a weird numerical coincidence.
Is it going to be like the number 23? Are you going to be weird about it?
No, I just thought it was interesting that he was born in 1890 and died in 1980.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay.
Why you got to make it a thing?
I didn't.
Why you got to make it weird?
I didn't.
I think what you're noticing, Joe, is that just everything that we do as a group is weird.
That's true. He was an American cinematographer, now I just can't not say cinematographer, who started on silent films in the 20s, worked in the British film industry in the 30s, before moving on to work with Universal Studios, various independent productions. He worked on quite a few Abbott and Costello films. I don't know why I said it like that, but okay.
You got the right.
His only horror credits were, well, he had a few, but the ones that jumped out at me that weren't Abbott and Costello related were Lon Chaney's Phantom of the Opera, Night of the Monster, and The Magnetic Monster, which looks like some good, weird sci-fi B-horror.
Nice.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah. The writers of this movie, there's a whole journey.
Well, take us there. Take us there.
Take me down to Paradise City.
Don't.
That was a series of sounds you just made.
See, he was grabbing the paint stick to hit you, and he
ended up hitting
accidentally
myself.
hit himself in the balls.
Okay.
That tracks.
Anyway, This movie had a 3-person writing team: Robert Lees, Frederic Rinaldo, and John Grant. Robert Lees and Frederic Rinaldo were a writing team. Robert Lees was an American screenwriter most well known for writing comedy, including, again, several Abbott and Costello films. Apparently, those guys just liked working with people that they liked working with.
Who would have thought?
Yeah. He started in show business as a dancer, hopefully a private dancer or a tiny dancer. Before becoming a writer, Universal teamed him up with Frederic Rinaldo, and they would go on to write several films of both short and regular length together throughout the 40s into the 50s, where Lee's career was effectively ruined when he was put on the Hollywood blacklist because of the McCarthy Red Scare thing.
Oh, God.
Yeah, and that's going to be a current that runs through this whole kind of writer bio. I found one bit of info, I couldn't corroborate it anywhere else, that said Lou Costello specifically, and again, apparently they were kind of on their decline in the 50s anyway.
Right.
But he got real intense about the McCarthyism Red Scare thing and was demanding people sign loyalty oaths.
Yeah.
But I could only find one instance of that in a Wikipedia article and couldn't confirm it anywhere else. So take it as seriously as you want to.
Right.
But yeah, Lee and Rinaldo were both blacklisted by Hollywood because of the Red Scare. But Lee specifically did manage to write under pseudonyms and use his friends as proxies to still get his writing out there and get paid. He didn't actually retire until 1983, and in his later years he became active in the atheist and humanist movement, speaking at events over the years until the end of his life in 2004.
Do you think that's why he got targeted? Because he wasn't a God-fearing American?
Could be. Or it's the other way around, that because he got targeted, he kind of had a pivot in his beliefs.
Maybe.
And his collaborator Frederic Rinaldo, led a less interesting life, at least according to the internet. He was also blacklisted during the Red Scare, but there's not a lot else about him.
Right. Like it worked.
Yeah, maybe, actually.
Like it just worked.
Yeah. He wrote a lot of short and regular length films, mostly through Universal Studios, and then just kind of disappeared.
Well, it's depressing.
But wait, there's more. It keeps getting, interesting. The plot thickens. This film had a third credited writer, John Grant, who was one of the primary collaborators with Abbott and Costello. Lou Costello even called him their chief idea man.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And Grant got his start in the 1920s as a comedian and producer in the burlesque scene, even marrying a striptease artist. And it was there that he met Abbott and Costello and started their long collaboration, because that's where they got their start as well, was in the burlesque scene in the 1920s.
Oh, like they were doing stripteases?
Yeah, that's what they were doing. They weren't doing comedy routines. They were They were stripping. that was their gimmick, was like a tall, skinny guy and a short, chubby guy, and they would strip.
Nice.
It would be very erotic.
I'm turned on.
Yeah. Over the years, he was accused of ripping off material from the burlesque scene to use in Abbott and Costello's acts and performances. So that's a thing. But yeah, Grant's bio was where I got the thing about Costello making people sign loyalty oaths.
Right.
But apparently he refused to sign it. And while he wasn't blacklisted from Hollywood, Abbott and Costello fired him for one movie, but then
they realized that he was the reason they were funny.
Yeah, they missed him, and they thought that movie wasn't as good because he wasn't on it.
You might be a commie, but you're a funny commie, so we're just going to suck it up.
That's all any of us can hope to be, is a funny commie. And he continued working on Abbott and Costello movies until his death in 1955, which was the same year that his last film, Abbott and Costello Meet the Wolfman, came out.
There it is.
Yep.
Thanks for bringing the room down, Joe. JD, are you going to be able to lift us up with the special effects, or should we just...
JD lifts us up where we belong.
Yeah, or should we just go ahead and just start playing My Chemical Romance songs? And
Oh, no, let's not.
Apparently they had a new song come out like last week, and people are real stoked about it.
Yeah, I'm too old.
It was never
popular.
my thing.
Yeah, when they were popular, I didn't care.
Yeah, I just missed it because you're a little older than I am. I just missed that scene, and then yeah. Sorry, JD.
So yes, but no, I love the banter. Special effects. I'm gonna go ahead and talk about Fred Noth. He had 7 special effects credits, including a handful of horror/sci-fi films such as The Land Unknown, 1957, The Deadly Mantis, also in 57, The Incredible Shrinking Man, and finally Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. There were a lot of special effects artists to mention, 3 in particular: Bud Westmore, Jack Keevan, and Emile Levine. Keevan and Levine were uncredited, so I focused more on Bud Westmore, and I learned a lot because Westmore has 599 movie and show makeup credits.
Holy shit.
Yeah, 599. Westmore is truly an iconic makeup artist, best known for constructing the makeup and the prosthetic work for the creature from the Black Lagoon. That was Bud Westmore's claim to fame as a makeup artist.
I mean, that's solid.
Yeah, super solid, because that creature was absolutely awesome looking.
Especially for the time, shit.
Oh, absolutely. Westmore had a few big hit productions that were also they were non-horror. Soylent Green was one of them, and To Kill a Mockingbird. But back to horror. Man of a Thousand Faces, It Came from Outer Space, Abbott and Costello Meet the Mummy.
Man of a Thousand Faces was the Lon Chaney Sr. I mean, so real quick, I don't think we've ever talked about this.
Sure.
Lon Chaney Jr.'s real name was Crichton.
Right.
He was Crichton Chaney.
Okay.
And he actually did a bunch of film roles as Crichton Chaney, and then was essentially like told, like, hey, we need you to be Lon Chaney Jr.
It's better for your career if you're Lon Chaney Jr.
Right.
Yeah. More attractive to sell the film.
And when I was digging around through stuff this time, I didn't want to mention it while you were telling the story, but
oh no, that's cool.
One of the things that I did want to talk about the fact was that his mother and Lon Chaney Sr. had some serious issues in their relationship.
Okay.
And what ultimately ended up happening was his mother, Frances Cleveland Crichton. She was a singing stage performer who traveled in road shows with Lon Chaney. But she ended up doing a suicide attempt.
Oh, wow.
At one of Lon Chaney Sr.'s shows. And for years, Crichton didn't realize that his mother was still alive.
Holy smokes.
Right? Yeah, crazy shit. But yeah, so that's the Man of a Thousand Faces. Like, Lon Chaney was insane, the stuff that dude was able to do.
So wait, you're telling us that Lon Chaney Jr.'s mother essentially faked her own death and fooled him into believing that she was dead for a number of years?
No.
Oh.
She had attempted a suicide by drinking poison at one of the shows that Lon Chaney Sr. was doing. It damaged her vocal cords and ended her singing career.
Gotcha.
And then she fled. Like, she left. And Lon Chaney told his son that his mom was dead.
That's fucked up.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Which is really fucked up. And he only learned that she was still alive after his dad was dead.
Holy balls.
Huh.
Yeah. So wear that. And the last movie that Lon Chaney was in, he had speaking roles, but he was already suffering from throat cancer. So you couldn't even make out what his like vocal lines were. Like they were so scratchy and raspy.
So senior died from throat cancer?
I was talking about Lon Chaney Jr.
Oh, gotcha.
This is a real feel-good episode.
Oh, yeah. This got awful. But yeah, Man of a Thousand Masks. What other movies? JD.
Yeah, JD, brighten the mood, quick. Say something funny.
Yeah, say something awesome and bright.
The Deadly Mantis?
There we go. That works.
Did that go
I feel
okay?
better. Yeah, I feel better.
Right,
I feel better.
that
Thanks,
landed
buddy.
Sorry. Sorry I couldn't be more uplifting.
Do better, all right? Joe and I bring us down. Your job was to bring us back up, okay?
Yeah.
It felt like the three of us were just wandering down this dark tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a little consumed by that darkness. Yeah, a little bit.
This week on Butcher Block, the gang takes us down into the depths of despair.
We surely did. We surely did venture in that direction.
Anything else on the special effects?
I'm sad now. I'm too sad to even.
Do you want to just stop here?
No.
I thought I read that Lon Chaney Jr. Died of heart failure.
No, Lon Chaney Jr. died of throat cancer.
Ooh.
He may have died of heart failure, but it was because of the throat cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Well, all right, I'm depressed.
Yes, cardiac failure due to atherosclerotic heart disease and cardiomyopathy.
Okay.
Jesus Christ.
Well, I'm going to go lie down.
No, not yet.
Think about some things.
No, we got to talk about our personal experience with the film now that it's been good and sullied. We had fucking people's careers ruined by the Red Scare. We had Lon Chaney Jr. finding out his mother was still alive after his father died.
And then dying of a horrible disease.
Yeah.
That other writer working on Abbott and Costello movies literally until the end of his life, which
that's kind of sad.
I find pretty depressing, yeah.
And that one of the writers had to write under a false name because he was destroyed in the
because his name got ruined, yeah.
Or that Lou Costello wanted people to sign loyalty oaths.
Right.
That's some dark shit. Personal experience with the film. Joe, start us off.
Yeah, I hadn't seen this particular movie until today. I had seen other Abbott and Costello movies. I'm gonna be honest, screwball comedy, slapstick comedy, not really my bag.
Right.
It's not 100% my thing. I don't tend to enjoy it.
I was pretty much the only one laughing
in
most of this movie.
This movie was fine. I could see what they were going for, and they more or less succeeded.
Right.
It didn't make me laugh.
Right.
Whatever. It's fine.
All right, JD.
I think I'm too sad.
Glad we're ending on a positive note here, Joe.
All right, let me try to conjure some nostalgic moments from my childhood where I had seen this movie for the first time. So, I'm going to kind of circle this back around to Svengoolie.
Oh, nice.
This is definitely where I watched Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein for the first time, and The Mummy and a few of the other ones. But I watched this movie alongside my grandma, watching the Svengoolie show. And if you're not familiar, Svengoolie is a iconic Chicago horror film host. Would play a movie and do this thing called Sven Surround, where he would talk over the end of the movie and kind of Mystery Science Theater sort of vibes over it. There was always a musical part with Doug Graves, who was a piano player guy, and they would kind of anyway. But I just remember seeing this movie as a pretty young pup, and just enjoying that. It's more of a comedy than it is a horror film, and I could see why maybe Bela Lugosi or a guy like Boris Karloff or Lon Chaney Jr. might not have been thrilled having their horror characters sort of made fun of.
Mm.
As far as my first impression goes, I don't remember a whole lot about what I thought of it back then, other than I thought it was pretty funny as well. As far as watching it today went, I enjoyed a lot of the Spirit of Halloween sounds in it, which back then, it's that's some technology doing, at work. Whereas today, the kind of, the props and the gags and the sound and different things like that, that's just kind of
Well, and even if I can jump in just for a second.
Please do, yeah.
Some of even the special effects where they did what I assume to be cell shading animation directly onto the film reel, the cartoon bats flying around and some of that stuff.
I especially enjoyed the one, and would you say it was in the reflection of Sandra's eye, or was that Joan's eye? That was a cool little animation, yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was fun, and when Dracula would transform into and out of a bat, and it would be this fucking cartoon bat flying around, and it would transition over. I thought that was really cute. I thought that was fun.
Definitely.
It was good stuff.
Or the cartoon water splash as
Mm-hmm.
the Wolfman enters that body of water. That really got me. I think that was my
It was
deep
good.
belly laugh for this film. So yeah, how about you, Kaine? What was your impression of the film?
This one's a big nostalgia film for me. I watched this movie a ton of times when I was a kid. I was introduced to it by my dad, and I loved this movie. I thought it was the greatest thing ever. Watching it again as an adult, I still laughed at the parts you're supposed to laugh at. And some of it was just remembering the times me and my younger brother watched it and just the joy that we felt watching it. The score just really takes me back. I love this entire season. The film scores have just been just really fun. Just a really good time. Aside from that, I don't really have anything else. I watch it, I like to add that in. I usually will watch this film at least once a year. That's pretty much it.
Nice.
You guys have anything else to say?
I'm good.
Not so much.
All right. We apologize for bringing the room down.
Yeah, this was kind of given that we watched a very lighthearted movie.
Right.
This was kind of a dark-toned episode in a lot of ways.
Anyway, if you watched Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, let us know what you think. You can find us at WeGiveYouBrainworms.com. Next week, we're covering Dracula. So we're just hopping around the timeline.
Dracula.
Blah. We'd also warn you against forgetting to like our videos on YouTube and subscribing to them.
Yeah, click that button.
Want to drink your blood.
Yeah, that's going to happen.
Au revoir. Next time I gotta pinch a loaf, I'm gonna be like, hey, it's time to go unpack Dracula's coffin. Well, all right, I'm depressed.